All right, so I want to make some comments about this solar eclipse. A lot of people have been asking me my thoughts, what should I do, and various other things. And so I'm going to address a couple of things in this video, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because a lot of people cover this. Some are good, some are not so good. Now, the major point I want to make is that there are lots of people making very crazy connections to the far future. And what I mean by that is that they're connecting from what my belief is that certain things that will happen in Revelations to right now. Now, I'm not against the fact that there are signs, there are wonders, there are different things that create significance according to, if you want to say, dates and times, as well as how God would speak through certain events, the stars and moon and all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but what's real and what I've been taught by some of my best mentors, prophetic mentors, teachers, and just various people that have taught me over the years, they've also given me lots of advice on dates. They've given lots of advice on interpreting dreams and various things, and it has to be done appropriately. You can't just take the concept of what you see in scripture and how it ties to events and just make crazy predictions about everything. And so what's very common right now is that there's a notion that it's going to get very bad and then Jesus is coming like very soon, like next year or at some point, even in our lifetime. Now, I hold the view that Jesus will be coming in a few hundred years. And I have to at least explain myself in some sense soon. I've said it many times on this channel, but it's the same view that many other prophetic people have in that there's a false return of Christ and also a false projection of the tribulation given technology, I don't know, Project Bluebeam, many other things. There's a sense that you need to fearmonger everybody such that it will get them to be urgent about doing certain things without actually planning for the harvest and for the end times, the kingdom age that is about to come shortly before the tribulation happens. And so all the other stuff is correct in a biblical sense, the 7-year tribulation, the Antichrist, and then you have 3.5 years, all that stuff, except that people are misattributing certain events, whether it's the 7 bowls, the 7 trumpets, and whatever it is that you want to associate to an event. So the concept, what I'm saying is that the concept of interpreting and seeing signs and dates and all of that, it's correct in that you have to not just ignore it because God speaks through so many things, so many circumstances. And if you're on the side of the spectrum where you just ignore everything, like don't just make causation out of nothing. That's not true either. Plenty of times in the Bible, God attributed stars and even spatial things, as well as dates and times and all these things of significance to certain events and certain meanings, right? And God speaks through that. Even the shapes of the cloud, you don't want to ignore that. If you see certain things happening and you believe that it looks holy or godly, or if it's a spiritual warfare happening, you got all of this talk about where it's flying over, Nineveh, and just various things. People are talking about those things. And I'm not against making a meaning out of that because God, I believe that when we get to heaven, we will see meaning like no other. You thought you made some meaning out of something, but God had a huge totally different sovereign hand over the specific meaning of every single thing and how it tied together. And we will be shocked and in awe about how God worked through that. But the problem, again, is that we are misattributing certain meanings to certain events and certain outcomes, certain things in scripture, which is not there, okay? And so this is my main message. Don't just ignore it. There's going to be, I think there's some state that said that they enacted or they're going to allow the National Guard as well as like a nuclear unit and some of their like crazy special like task force people to be on the scene. And it's triggering a lot of people to think what's going to happen. And then there may be just collateral damage of people taking advantage of the situation. They may loot, they may go about doing whatever act they want to do. It may be a distraction event. It may be part of a bigger false flag operation. Who knows, right? To cause chaos. And we know that the evil one wants to steal, kill, and destroy and cause civil war. And so it may be a use for Satan and demonic things to manifest certain activities. So who knows, right? In that regard. But the point here is that you don't want to ignore it completely. And unless you're comfortable with it and you're at peace with it, don't make crazy claims for which you are not at peace, right? Meaning that Jesus is coming this year because of this, or the world is ending and we're going to have crazy end of times natural disasters or something like that, right? And so get ready, right? Don't just, ignore it and just do whatever. People also have in the news have said that have a couple weeks of food stored up in case things go down during this chaotic period. If it does become chaotic, it could just come and go, and just be ready for possible disruptions during this time, because it could allow people to be temporarily out of things. And there's a lot of other talk right now, like cyber attacks on water infrastructure, and just news that have come out like that. But just be ready. Don't ignore it, but also don't make connections that you don't feel comfortable believing, because yes, there is meaning. There is something with the numbers and all that stuff, and I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of people cover it, but don't make too many crazy connections with it. So just all I wanted to say. These are my comments, and a lot of people have asked, and I'm not ignoring it. So be encouraged, guys. It's a good time. There's a lot of things happening, but do not worry. Do not be in fear. God is doing amazing things, and he will have our backs through all of this. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.